Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile. With me again, Alasdair McKenzie. Alasdair, did we have to wait to Simone Inzaghi to leave Lazio to break your curse? Finally, with you at the stadium.
I'm not accepting that as your explanation around this, because we've already had a game this season where you've come and blamed me. Your campaign of slander has continued. So as I tweeted yesterday, I'm demanding a formal apology about this campaign, and I'm going to roll out the lawyers if I don't get what I want.
In Italy, we say a rondine non fa primavera. Just one match is not enough. We need to test it multiple times. Plus, I could argue that betting on Correa scoring and Inter winning, that's what made the difference. So every Lazio fan should thank me.
So you didn't take my advice to bet on Milinkovic-Savic scoring then?
No, I bet on Leva getting the yellow card, and he didn't, of course. And Correa scoring and Inter winning. So, I think it's all thanks to me that Lazio won.
Maybe this whole thing is just a bit of a lesson that we just need to have a little bit more faith, Vittorio. Some positivity from you before the games.
Yes, maybe that's it. Alasdair, probably the best match of Lazio this season. At least the strange thing about this Lazio Inter was that I thought the first half Lazio played much better than Inter and was down 1-0. In the second half, well, Inter was like taking control a little bit of the match. Lazio scored 3 goals.
Yeah, it was a very odd game in the way it ebbed and flowed. Yeah, I mean, it was strange. I guess it was kind of the same thing in many ways we've already seen this season, in the sense that Lazio in the first half kind of had a lot of the ball, created enough opportunities that going in at halftime they had more shots than Inter did, but at the same time didn't feel like they'd really worked Handanovic, apart from maybe that one chance that Toma Basic had. But I mean, Felipe Anderson was looking excellent already in that first half. And like Maurizio Sarri said after the game, he wasn't really worried at halftime because the team was playing well despite the score. But it's like you say, I was actually in the middle of writing a tweet saying, in that period in the second half where Inter just looked so comfortable, they took control, the defense was batting away any attack, and I was in the middle of writing that I just felt like Lazio needed some luck. They needed bounce of the ball, a bad refereeing decision, something, and then they get the penalty, which isn't just luck, obviously, but it was the perfect timing, I felt, in the match for them to get that way back into it. And then from that moment onwards, it just exploded. The game completely changed. We were both in the stadium, and it was like the crowd woke up, right? I mean, it was amazing after that moment. Suddenly it came to life.
Well, yes, I lost my voice, so I just recovering now. So I know what you're saying. But let's go back a little bit, because I think one of the biggest surprise was the starting 11. Seeing Basic starting instead of Luis Alberto. I know some of Lazio fans are already saying Sarri doesn't trust Luis Alberto. There's a problem there. I thought just because it was Inter, they're very physical, and especially against Bologna, Lazio struggled with the balance. I thought putting Basic made sense, right? But it was a surprise.
Yeah, it's a huge surprise, and it's I think pretty promising, because it goes to show that Basic must be impressing in training. He must be convincing Sarri and the rest of the staff that he's making that adaptation perhaps quicker than they thought. And yes, Sarri said afterwards that he felt like the team needed a bit more stability, solidity for this game than perhaps they would have with Alberto on the pitch. I think it was Iglitare who made a comment before the match about kind of the fact that the team needs to be very energetic and it's pressing, kind of suggesting that Alberto's not necessarily capable of putting in that. Well, I think he's capable, but he's not always willing to do that hard pressing effort. So it was interesting. I don't think, Basic came in and and tore up the game or anything like that. But I thought he put in a decent performance, and being able to bring on a player like Alberto from the bench in the second half was a real asset. And I think it's just intelligent. I don't think we need to kick up a huge controversy every time something like this happens, because I think if we can, create a better equilibrium, especially midfield, between players who we can rely on, then that will sort out this problem of over-reliance on those three players who always start.
Yeah, I would say two things. The first one is Basic created 2 or 3 good chances in the first half. He could finish it better, but he created chances. The second is we've been talking for ages that Lazio need substitution of a certain level, and that last year Milinkovic Savic and Luis Alberto didn't have real players that could come in and play instead of them and give them a break and keep the level high. Now we have it with Basic. So big teams have good bench players, and I think Basic is the perfect example of that. He's different compared to Luis Alberto. He's not very good in moving the ball, but he has the skill of feeling the box. That it was something that we saw missing in the other matches, right? How many times did you see Lazzari put the ball in the box and there was only Ciro Immobile there? Instead, with Basic, we're seeing someone else getting there. So it gives Sarri different opportunities, different type of football. And again, I think this is a valuable add-on. If you ask me, I would have preferred to sign a Vice Leiva instead of a Vice Luis Alberto. But, it's a valuable player, and I think that's a good signing for Lazio and could be very useful.
Yeah, and also a different kind of option, though. Like you say, he is good at making those late runs into the box. That's how he got a goal against Lokomotiv, was it? And
Yeah.
And that is something that the other midfielders who play in that role don't tend to do, that kind of box-to-box, late runner thing. I mean, Milinkovic Savic tends to push up high to fill the box earlier. Alberto tends to sit deeper and be the one creating the chances. But Basic, I think, is offering something a little bit different as well. He did pick up a yellow card I think he could have avoided. And it's like I say, I don't think it's the game where we say, oh, he's a nailed-on starter now, but it's encouraging, because I feel like we've lost faith a little bit in the last couple of years about Iglitari's signings, especially players we've not really heard much about from other leagues. And so I don't think Basic came in with huge expectations from that many of us just because he was unfamiliar and we've been burnt before. But so far, so good.
And we have to add that Basic is probably of this summer the only player that Tare wanted and wasn't suggested by Sarri, because Sarri, when he came, said that he didn't know the player and he had to learn a little bit Basic. So this is 100% Tare signing. I think we have to talk about the man of the match. I think Felipe Anderson was outstanding in Saturday's match. I remember the first half, end of the first half, there were 3 Inter players trying to stop him, and he was still able to dribble past them, put the ball in the box. And then I don't know if Basic or someone else missed the chance. Again, outstanding performance from Felipe Anderson, Alasdair. And this morning on El Messaggero, Claudio Lotito said, and imagine that the former Lazio manager said he wasn't good enough to play for Lazio.
Yeah, I mean, there was some...
was this manager?
There was some real, poetic justice about this Felipe Anderson showing up in this game against Inzaghi, proving this point. For me, it's a continuation of what's already been a really encouraging start since he came back. We spoke about him quite a lot around the Derby game as well, and the fact that Sarri basically filled him with confidence before that match and spoke about how he was one of the most talented players he's ever coached in his career. And Anderson's clearly loving it. He's clearly enjoying being in this team, being coached by Sarri, being asked to do something that plays to his strengths, essentially. And he's very hard to stop when he's in that mood. I mean, he was just causing absolute nightmares for Inter down that left-hand side at times. And as well as that, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about this yet, but the goal that he did score, I think his reaction to that deserves a lot of credit that perhaps has been overlooked. The fact that he didn't respond aggressively, he was standing with his hands up in this situation as he had fists thrown in his face and all sorts of things. So I think all in all, it was a great performance from him. I wrote something about it afterwards, and I was making the point that at 3 million euros, this could be, if he continues like this, one of the best bargains that Tare has managed to pull off. If he continues like this, because that is not a lot of money for a player who is performing at a really high level.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's simply embarrassing that no Inter player got a red card after the reaction for the second goal of Felipe Anderson. That's simply unbelievable. Really, really hard to understand how that was possible. But before I forget, going to the stadium, seeing Vavro on the bench, my dream would have been Lazio winning at last second with a header of Vavro. That would be really funny. Right?
You're asking too much.
Yeah, I didn't say assist from Raul Moro though. Just header from Vavro.
Or Pedro Neto coming back. Yeah, I mean, how did you find the Inzaghi welcome then? I mean, you were obviously in the stands, whereas I was stuck up in the press box. But how was it in the stands for the Inzaghi welcome coming under the curva before the match? I mean, from where I was sitting, it looked almost entirely positive. Lots of cheers, a big banner, obviously, and I couldn't hear any boos, but you were a lot closer than I was.
I have to admit that I was the only one who didn't stand up when Inzaghi came under the curva. The only one.
1 in 20,000.
Yeah, everybody cheering me. I was there watching, and I didn't try to boo because I think I would have get killed, but I didn't approve. Let's put it like that.
So you wouldn't even stand up?
No, I was sitting.
Interesting. I mean, you know, from the debates on social media and so on leading up to this game, it came across as being a more divisive issue than it ended up being on the day. I think it's safe to say, because it did seem, like you say, overwhelming support for him.
But
I don't think it was crazy support, though, as in, I think people were appreciative and people were on their feet and clapping, but there's another level between that and kind of hero worshipping someone. So I think it was respect more than anything.
They give him a plate, as they tend to do a lot of time, but there weren't any cheering during the match. This was probably the biggest thing I would say. Normally, when Mihajlovic come to Rome, etc., there's always the chant for him. There were no chant for Simone Inzaghi. At least I didn't hear it, and I was in Curva, so it's quite hard to not hear it. So that's probably the most important thing for me. But we have to say that Curva was all, already in advance, very focused on that. I think Tribuna Tevere had a different reaction for Simone Inzaghi. So yeah, I think that's the biggest difference. I don't know. Seeing Strakosha celebrating the second goal, I think that there were some of the players not very happy to see Simone Inzaghi close to the Curva Nord. But as they said, he played 22 years for Lazio. He's a great manager. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the best we had when Lotito got in charge. But it's the way that he left that really was disappointing.
Yeah, well, I know you spoke about that in length the other day, so I don't need to go back into all of that. But no, I mean, how impressed are you about the fact that Lazio under Sarri are producing these performances in big games? Because this is a second huge result in a row at the Olimpico after Roma.
Yep.
So 6 goals in 2 games against Roma and Inter, who have been the two of the pace setters in this Serie A early on so far. I mean, that's an incredibly impressive start, although obviously there have been issues against smaller teams.
Yeah, but if you see the table, I was just looking this morning, Lazio played with 3 of the top 4 teams of the league. we're only missing Napoli. So, and on the left side of the table, we played against 4 or 5 teams because I think Empoli is on the other side as well. So Lazio fixture wasn't very easy. And if you go and see, except against Milan, we all won that matches. So this is really important. And on the other team of the city, they lost all the matches against top team. So again, I would add. And you have to argue that this is probably the worst Juventus of the last 10 years. The match yesterday was awful. One big difference, I thought, is that Lazio-Inter was an exciting match where players played very well, while Juventus-Roma was an awful match where both teams made a lot of mistakes. So I think that it's a problem of focus from Lazio. When you play big teams, it's easier to get focus. I think against Milan, they were too confident after the start of the season, and that's why they play like that. But I think this team can really step up in big occasion, and they have the players to do it this year, and the manager, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point about the games Lazio already had, and it's the strange part of the season now where it still feels very new and still feels like we're at the very early stages, but actually we're almost a quarter of the way through the season already. We're not quite at the stage where you can still say it's just completely early days. And to be 1 point off the top 4, I think is pretty good. I think, to be honest, if you'd given me that before the season started, I think I would have taken it, to be in that situation. So I think we can just hope at this point that things only get better, because obviously we've been here before, the Roma game, which was followed by a very good performance against Lokomotiv. But this is the real acid test for Lazio now, for me, in the next 2 games this week is, right, have they changed? Are they capable of playing Marseille, getting a result, going to Verona on Sunday, getting a result? Because they can't afford to have another Bologna debacle without it becoming a serious issue.
Yes, and against Verona, we are probably playing with Patrick Vavro or Patrick Rado, maybe. So this is a huge concern. But again, now, be honest, who could expect that with Patrick playing, Dzeko didn't do nothing? I mean, Dzeko and the other striker, Perisic did something, to be honest. But Dzeko was pretty much invisible, and we played 95 minutes with Patrick, central defender. I thought he had a great performance, to be honest with you. I thought the problems were the left back and right back of Lazio, not the 2 central defender. And again, Patrick not only had a great performance, but the penalty was on him. So outstanding, really unexpected, but great performance.
Yeah, I mean, I know you were on kind of Team Patrick, wanting him to take the penalty as well.
Definitely.
Maybe next time, maybe not quite such an important one, but he has already opened his account for the season, so he's a goal scoring danger. This
the new Bastos.
But yeah, I think Hisai was clumsy with the penalty. I think he didn't need to. I mean, you could see it from a mile off. You just thought the angle he was running at and the angle Barella was running at, just thought, no, just put your hands up and don't go in there, because Barella was running away from goal. And I just didn't think he needed to make any contact whatsoever, even if it was only minor. It's enough. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, terrific ending to the game. I think we should talk about the second goal. For anyone who's somehow not seen this, essentially what happened was Federico Di Marco went down from a kind of challenge from Lucas. It wasn't a foul. Inter continued playing. They went up to the edge of the box. Lautaro Martinez took a shot. It was saved. Pepe Reina played the ball, threw the ball out. Lazio went up the other end and scored while Di Marco was still on the ground. So cue absolute chaos, Vittorio. And a lot of players, including Di Marco, up on their feet, screaming at Felipe Anderson about the perceived lack of sportsmanship. So I know you've got strong opinions on this.
You know what's the funniest thing about that is that after 8 hours, pop out a video of Inter scoring against Verona, and Inter scores, and there's the player of Verona that dies in front of the player with a ball, and he simply dribbled past this man that's dead on the floor, pass the ball to Icardi, and he scores. And then they talk about fair play. I mean, Inter fans should really be ashamed of them. Said this, they went, tried to score, they missed. Hey guys, you play the ball, why should we stop? To add to this, in the first half, Lazio is going on a counter-attack, and Darmian dies. Basic put the ball out, and as soon as the ball goes out, Darmian incredibly resurrect and start playing again. So this wasn't the first time that Inter tried this stupid trick. The rule is the ref stops the game if there's a serious injury. That wasn't a serious injury. The head wasn't involved. You play on. I'm sick of seeing players kick the ball out, and every time they do, the players immediately get up. He's fine, all good. We are ready to go, right? So this is, I see nothing wrong. I see what was wrong was Dumfries that didn't get the red card. That's the only issue.
Yeah, the reason that law exists as well is to stop games from becoming so dull to watch, because every time somebody feigns an injury or goes down with something minor, the ball goes out and you have to start again. I mean, like Sarri said after the game, it's only in Italy these things happen. And I'm not sure if he's entirely right about that, but he said, in the Premier League, everybody would just continue playing in this situation. And the reason they say it's a head injury or a serious injury is because why would you, you don't need to stop the game for that. The ball will go out of play sooner or later. I think Inter should be angry with Marcelo Brozovic, who completely forgot to keep tracking Felipe Anderson on that counter-attack. They could have defended a lot better than they did. And yeah, I mean, it's a question of sportsmanship, not so much the laws for a lot of Inter fans who are angry about this. But like you say, they had the opportunity to put the ball out themselves to begin with. Like the UEFA vice president, Zibi Boniek, even came out and said, there is no controversy. You play the whistle. You keep playing until the referee blows the whistle. And that's pretty much one of the basics of football. I mean, you're taught that from a very young age at any level, is you play the whistle. So I do honestly understand why there was an angry reaction from Inter fans to begin with about it. But I think looking back on it now in the cold light of day, you can't really have too many complaints about it. And most people, all the Moviola, seem to be pretty much on the same page about that.
Well, there's no argue there. There wasn't a foul. There was nothing to complain. The only thing, and I hope that really something happens, is simply not acceptable that Dumfries doesn't get the red card. I hope the Serie A does something, because he has to be suspended for at least 2 matches. At least. I have no discussion about that. That's simply unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Well, the brawl after the goal was very badly dealt with.
Yeah, terrible.
There was a lot going on there, and there was a lot of aggression. And I understand it's hard to keep on top of everything that's happening when there are all these players throwing themselves around and so on. But yeah, there could have been more serious sanctions than there were. Obviously, Dumfries then later went and got yellow carded for throwing a hand in I think it was Adam Marisic's face as well, and he wasn't even on a booting at that point. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be looked at there. And then beyond that, the full-time whistle, Luiz Felipe leaps on his old friend Tuca Correa's back. Correa shoves him away and is quite angry about it. And Luiz Felipe gets sent off. So now, having just lost Francesco Acerbi to a very, very stupid red card, we have lost Luiz Felipe to a probably even stupider red card. But like I said before we came on, I think it's almost worth it just for the kind of comedy value of that photo that is now circulating.
I really struggle to understand what Luiz Felipe was thinking. I mean, that makes no sense at all. You can be friends. The match is over. They lost badly. What the hell are you doing? Again, terrible mistake, but I don't understand. If Dumfries don't get a red card, then nobody should get a red card. Luis Felipe made a mistake. That's a red card. Okay. If Dumfries doesn't get it, then nothing else is a red card. Even if they shoot you from Tribuna Tevere on the head, it's not a red card. So said this, two stupid mistakes. We're going to play against Verona without our central defenders. This is going to be a huge problem. I don't know. Someone asked if Lazio could appeal. I think they have no chance to do it. And who would do nothing, right? That's a stupid thing. He deserved it.
Yeah, they don't really have a leg to stand on with an appeal, because when it comes down to it, the context of them being friends and former teammates is completely irrelevant. What he's done is essentially kind of seen as assaulting an opposite player who responded angrily to it as well. So it was clearly not seen in the same light by both players. And obviously, they've cleared the air. And I liked Felipe's explanation where he said, perhaps in retrospect, it wasn't the time or the place.
Perhaps.
But perhaps, mate. Yeah, perhaps.
The reply of Correa wasn't good, right?
Sorry?
The reply of Correa wasn't great, because he didn't say he made a mistake. He simply said, well, I understood why Luis Felipe did this. Let's not think about it. He didn't say, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shove you away. So I know Lazio fans are not very happy with Correa.
Well, I think did he not say kind of in the heat of the moment, that was my reaction. So, I mean, you can kind of get it. And I guess you can see why he might be wound up. It was, Inzaghi got this amazing welcome from the fans. Correa, when he came on, got roundly booed by the entire stadium.
And I didn't understand that. I mean, if you cheer Simone Inzaghi, why you boo Correa? Yes, he wanted to leave. Why? Simone Inzaghi didn't want to leave? Come on, let's be honest. They both wanted to leave. And at least we got 30-odd million euros, right, from Correa. That's great. I mean, we should be all cheering Correa for that money we get from him, right? We saw him. He started well the season, but he's not scoring as Inter fan was expecting. He's a great player, great skill, but we saw it at Lazio, right? He's not very good in scoring. So,
yeah, no, he's not someone you can rely on to provide a big number of goals per season. But no, I mean, I think the comparison between Inzaghi and Correa is more to do with their contribution while they're at the club, not the fact that they're both former Lazio people. And I think it's fairly standard practice, to be honest, to boo former players unless they're serious exceptions to the rule. I also always got the feeling that Correa was never quite a player who everyone really took to entirely. He was so inconsistent, and he had some great moments, some big games, and scoring the winner in the cup final and all that, but was never quite a fan favorite in that sense. Like Caicedo, I think Caicedo, when he comes back, will be applauded by everyone. But
yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Strangely, De Vrij was booed. I don't remember why.
There's lots of storylines here. This is the thing I was thinking, because I had a couple of friends who went to this game who aren't Lazio fans really. They're just going to go to the game kind of thing. And I was just thinking, there's so much context around everything that's happening here. All the reactions, all the boos, the pre-match stuff with Inzaghi, the De Vrij, the Correa, the Luis Felipe Correa incident, all this stuff. There's a lot of context that if you're kind of looking in on this from the outside, you must be like, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah. We didn't mention that Zaccagni came in. He's finally recovered, and I thought he had a big impact with the match. He played well, which I wasn't expecting, considering that he just recovered from an injury. So I thought his performance, I thought Alasdair again, the substitution had a huge impact, because Luis Alberto came in, he provided the assist to Milinkovic Savic and had a great match. Zaccagni as well did well, and Lazzari was a massive upgrade compared to Inzaghi. So the bench again is providing a lot to this team.
Yeah, and that's the second or third time recently that Lazio's come on for Inzaghi. Do you think that Inzaghi's Sarri is looking at that now as perhaps, I know he's very loyal to Inzaghi, worked together for a long time, but he's not been particularly impressive so far. And I think with Marasic and Lazio and their experience of playing left and right last season, it is an option that perhaps could be a starting option quite soon.
Well, in the press conference before the match, Sarri talked about Stefan Radu, that hasn't played a single minute, and he said that he didn't see it very well at the beginning. After the vaccine, he said that Radu was struggling. Now he has improved. So I think Radu could be an option there coming. I think he's going to play on Thursday. So it's going to be interesting to see where he plays. Will he be playing central defender? I'm not sure, because Luiz Felipe and Acerbi could play both, because they're both banned from the next Serie A match. So if he starts left back, then he can prove that he can be a solution there. And seeing how Inzaghi played against Bologna and against Inter, I think we need someone there, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Radu for me would make more sense in the left-sided centre back role than anything else. Particularly because of the way, I guess, you want those players to be getting up and down the pitch, and with his age and not exactly the quickest player in the world anymore. So I think it makes a lot more sense for him to be an option at centre back. So we'll see. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what team is picked on Thursday. Because I wonder if Sarri's still quite as loyal to his idea of we need to play the same first choice team as much as possible, or if because of injuries, because of suspensions, because of the performances he's getting from some of the players off the bench, he's now looking at that a bit differently.
Well, against Lokomotiv, we rotated a lot, right? I think we changed 5-6 players, so I think that's the plan. It's still a match Lazio has to win to get through. So I think, well, Acerbi and Luiz Felipe will play because they cannot play in Serie A. So that's a given, I think. Strakosha will probably start. And then there's going to be a chance maybe for Zaccagni to start. I didn't see Pedro very well, I have to be honest, against Inter. I thought his performance wasn't very positive. So maybe he's going to rest and Zaccagni will start. I don't know if Raul Moro will have a chance. But yeah, one thing, Alasdair, we didn't mention was Murici got booed again, which I didn't like. It's something I don't accept. It didn't happen in the last match at home, but I don't know why they started again this against Inter.
Yeah, it happened at the Cagliari match. I remember us mentioning it there. I don't know. I feel like he's, the fans have just turned on him, and it's a bit of a shame because it seems like he deserves another chance before people turn on him, and he's not really had that yet under Sarri. And obviously, Sarri defended him in pre-season from the fans as well. So it's not really what we need. I was just going to say, I had a quick look at Marseille here and saw that they won 4-1 on the weekend, but that was after winning one game in the last 6. So they are third in the league, though, in France. So they've got some good players. I mean, Eric Milik's there up front.
Yeah.
But Dimitri Payet, Guendouzi, I mean, it's a talented team. So it's, we knew this is a difficult group that we're in. So I think winning at home to Marseille could be absolutely vital to actually getting through the group.
Yeah, and the question is, will they rotate or will they play the starting players? Because that's another question, right? They have good options, but what about the players that are on the bench at the moment? So obviously with the Europe League, that's one of the biggest questions. You never know which team you'll face. So, but again, this is a match Lazio has to win to keep the chance alive. So it's going to be important, but as well, as you mentioned at the beginning, Lazio beat Inter, they have to win even against Verona. Otherwise, it's wasted. We are fifth, 1 point from Roma, that is fourth at the moment. So you see, even beating Inter and Roma, we are not there yet. So we need to stack a couple of wins to see the table improving for Lazio. But again, that was an encouraging performance, because let's not forget that Inter, at least for me, but I think for a lot of people, was considered the favorite for the Scudetto this season. And people cannot agree, but I thought Lazio deserved to win on Saturday.
Yeah, overall in the course of the game, I think it's hard to argue they didn't. I mean, Inter had parts of the game where they were on top, as did Lazio. But in the end, Lazio, it was quite finely balanced, and Lazio were the one who took the chances when it came down to it. Ended the game with statistically better off than Inter were. And yeah, it's the first, Lazio the first team to beat Inter this season. Let's not forget that. They were unbeaten in Serie A coming into this game. Obviously different than the Champions League, but in Serie A that hadn't happened before. So, Lazio should be proud of that result, because it's huge.
Yeah, 14 chances for Lazio, just 8 for Inter. So this gives you a little bit the difference. Reina made a good save in the first half. I didn't remember good saves of Reina in the second half, while Handanovic had a good performance. And, this drives me crazy. Handanovic made so many mistakes during the season. Obviously, against Lazio, he has the best match of the season. And I don't know about yourself, but when there was that penalty, I was really concerned, because we know Ciro missed a couple. We know Handanovic is quite good in penalty saves. So, I was a little bit concerned there.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a weekend for penalty misses in Serie A as well.
Yeah.
So there was something in the air this weekend. But no, it was good. A good penalty from Ciro. I had the same reservations before he took it, but got there in the end. And yeah, it's good to have the old reliable names on the score sheet, as well as Anderson to have Immobile and Milinkovic Savic back on the score sheet again. It's really, really promising stuff. So yeah. Like I say, I think now it's all about taking that forward and not doing a Bologna again.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed the next week is just as encouraging.
Yeah, again, the problem of playing Thursday and Sunday doesn't help to recover. So let's see if Sarri rotates the players. We didn't talk about Milinkovic Savic. I thought that when he decided to win the match, he stepped up and had a huge impact on the game. Not only the goal, but he started playing great football and was pretty hard for Inter to stop. At the same time, Barella didn't do pretty much nothing on Saturday, which, he was considered the best player for Inter. And the fact that he didn't show up in the second half tells a lot about Lazio performance.
Yeah, well, I thought Barella was really good in the first half, actually, but second half got quieter. It's the opposite for Milinkovic Savic, who I think was really quiet in the first half. Yeah. Stepped up second. He does have a of turning up in big games, though, and that goal was exactly what you want to see from him. A Luis Alberto free kick, a Milinkovic Savic header. Once you see it happen, you think, why the hell isn't this happening all the time? It's so obvious. But yeah, it was a nice goal. Caught them cold a little bit there. And I think that's his 5th goal against Inter now. He loves scoring against Inter. I think he's scored against Inter more than any other team, which tells you a lot about how much he loves the big games. So it's good to have Milinkovic Savic on form again.
Yes, definitely. And it's going to be really important from the coming games. Alasdair, we can wrap it up here. Thank you again for joining me. Remember, guys, you can find us everywhere where you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on Twitch as Lazio World. So wherever you listen to podcasts or YouTube videos, you can find us there. And remember, rate and subscribe on iTunes. That's helped us a lot. And we're going to be back after Lazio Marseille. Goodbye, everybody.